What's up guys, it's Clormo with another tutorial for Logic Pro X, and one of the first tutorials is going to be ending the Alchemy series. This is going to be the first of two that will close that series, and I'm going to be talking about Alchemy Morph section use and tips. So there's not going to be a lot of examples here, it's just a few tips and things that you guys should keep in mind with using morphing, and you should be using morphing because it's going to help you control how sounds and movement and that type of thing. And I want to get those out of the way so that you can feel confident that you can go ahead and try by yourself while you wait for me to come up with a sound design type of series or more specific usage for the morphing. So before I go into that, as usual, if you are watching me for the first time or you haven't done so, go to the video description. There's every venue that I have where I have any content or just an account on, and you can follow me, subscribe, like, all that good stuff, communicate with me. I'm pretty good at answering. I usually try to take no less than 24 hours to answer questions or whatever. If it's a question that I need more time, I'll let you know. But anyways, without further ado, let's just go into Logic Pro X. I want to try to make this a little bit quicker. So I just have here Alchemy, right? With I don't have anything right now in the window. I'm just gonna bring something real quick just to have some data, right? Some MIDI data. I just got rid of the one that we were using before. Let's just listen to that. The reason it sounds that horrible is because I cleared the instrument, the Alchemy instrument. So now I just have a basic saw wave and source A, and we're gonna take it from there. First, a few things before I just change a few of the parameters themselves on Alchemy Morph use and tips. It is important that we choose the same analysis mode for all the morph sources. Remember that to be able to have some morphing, which is this tab here, to be able to do some morphing, you will need at least two sources active with different things. So if you're bringing different samples, it would be best if you try to use the same analysis, the same synthesis engine, but it's not obligated, right? You can do whatever you want. Don't feel like you are constrained to that. But again, you are very likely going to have better results if you do that. And it makes sense, right? Because in the end, these four sources are going to combine and produce a sound that's going to be on the output of Alchemy anyway. So better keep it that way just to start, as you start investigating and practicing. And that brings me to the next point, that although you can use, you can morph with any synthesis type, the best results are usually also achieved with the default synthesis engines or modes, which are the spectral or the additive, with spectral being usually the most suitable for most of the sounds and majority of audio material. For those of you that like to make beats, if you're doing pitch samples and that type of thing, then the additive or additive plus spec is probably going to be better. Or monophonic sounds, let's say you're bringing some drum sounds or less complex sounds, then the additive or additive plus spectral would be a better engine to use in that example in particular. Also very important is typically you want to have the format button turned on when you're importing sounds, because it's going to give you also a better morphing quality. So all of those things that I have just mentioned is just to make sure that you get the best possible morphing quality that you can get. And if you need a little bit more details on morphing and all the parameters themselves, just go to my Alchemy playlist and look for the morphing parameters there to get, you know, up to speed into that. So anyway, if you are not creating, this is another thing. Let me just go here to the morph, and you see this button here is fixed pitch. If you're not creating pitch instruments, usually you want to have this off, because you just want everything to move chromatically in your keyboard. Now, to start doing a little bit of an example itself, the concept of time alignment is very important to achieve also higher quality, or the highest quality of morph that you can. So since it is crucial, you also want to make sure that you select sounds that have similar timing and loop characteristics if it applies, right? If it's just one-shot elements, then what I'm saying wouldn't apply. But again, for those beat makers that want to deal with longer loop material or samples, you want to make sure that they are similar timing, so that when you start using morphing, then you get the highest quality of morphing that you can. So let's just do with that in mind, let's go over a very basic example just to show what things are important to ensure that you get time aligned sounds. So if you want to follow me, make sure that you go to File, Clear, and give Alchemy, you know, its stock saw wave. And now let's just do a little import. We're just going to use the one or two sources here. I want to go, let's see, probably, let's just bring a few samples here. And I'm gonna bring them as spectral. We'll have my format. I'll bring them in. It's gonna take a minute. And what happened there? It actually brought a preset. That's not what I wanted. So let's try that again. Sorry for that. Okay, do that again. Yeah, Logic has been acting a little bit weird recently. Okay, so there you go. And by the way, like I said, this is the first of 2 videos to close, and this is actually the second time I'm recording this video, because the first take was so good, but I didn't record the computer audio, so you're gonna be lost. So there you go. I brought just a few samples there, just for the heck of it. I'm gonna go to my source A. I'm gonna go to my edit window, and there's my waveform editor. And why do I want to go to the waveform editor? Well, it's pretty simple. Let's just play first what we have, just to remind you what I just did with those 3 samples. So that sounds obviously different. So there's a few elements that are very, very important when you want to create higher quality morphings and ensure time alignment. And as you saw, I brought those 3. They are essentially guitar samples, so they are obviously all in the same timing and everything. I took them from the same library, so that ensures that I get that checkbox too. I brought them in spectral with the format, and what do I need to do? What else do I need to be aware of? So when you import something in the additive, spectral, or granular, Alchemy was gonna automatically set warp markers, and the warp markers are nothing more than my start and end points, like I see here, right? They're little lines, and we have seen this before, right? And if I put a loop mode, I'm also going to see the loop, and I can also add more markers. Typically, if it's one-shot sounds like this, then the start and the end of that sample, it's going to coincide with the absolute start point of the sound and then at the end of the attack portion, which would be somewhere around here, right? And then if I want to add additional sounds, if I want to add more markers, then I can simply double click, and for some reason, I swear that before I recorded this, it was working. It should add samples, but it's not letting me. I mean, it should add markers, but it's not letting me do it. And that gets on my nerves. Why is that? I don't know. Let's do something here. Let's just make the second active. It doesn't have to do anything with it. But I can move these markers at least. Let me just put, so there's my looping, and I should be able to move that too. So it's not letting me add now. I don't know. I really do not know why, but let's put the additive on. Let's see if that helps me too. It's not helping me. I don't know what's going on here, guys. I apologize, because there's no reason why I shouldn't be able to add warp markers. But let's say I bring just a preset. Let's just bring a preset, and it's not working either. So I honestly don't know what's happening there. Let's bring some other preset. Let's see if I can get it to work. Well, I don't have any samples there. Let's see. Right, where it does. Yeah, this one brought us additive, so, or spectral. Let's try one more. Let's try this again. One more time. Spectral format. Boom, boom. I'm gonna import that. Let's try that one more time. Yeah, I don't know what's happening. Doesn't want to cooperate right now for some reason, and that's weird, but all right. Anyway, you get the drift. So if you add more markers, which is what I wanted to get to, you are gonna make sure that depending on the sample that you have and the material that you have, then those warp markers are gonna are gonna essentially work as transient markers, like when we were doing flex timing and flex pitching. So morphing is gonna be enhanced by adding markers. Let's say for something like this, it's very simple, right? So we're not gonna really see a difference. We could probably just use these two markers that we have and we should be fine, right? Because it's a short sample. But if we had something more busy, then depending on the type of morphing that I want to achieve, if I want to morph between different segments from that sample, then I am better served if I use add more markers at the points where the attack of one portion ends and then as the other one begins, essentially adding transients. And that's going to ensure that your timing and the morph, it's more believable, right? You're moving from one to the other. So we can remember, we can do crossfading that way, and which is a type of morphing, and that's a more enhanced type of crossfading, not like the ones that if you have a sample here in your piano roll and then you add just a simple crossfade there. Yeah, that might work, but this takes it to another level when you're using the morphing, and it's all inside Alchemy itself, and you don't need to really deviate too much from your sound to achieve what you need to. So again, I apologize for not being, I don't know what happened here with the markers, but you know, that things happen, I guess. So now the second thing that I wanted to mention, just so that you get acclimated, there's one thing that you can also do to practice and feel more confident using morphing, and to learn a lot of other tips and usage of different modulation routings, all of that, and targeting for modulation when using morphing. And it's an actual preset, which it's actually called, I just passed it, morphing, oh my god, morph example. So if you bring morph example, and let's just play that, and you can't tell me that doesn't sound great. Of course, there's a little bit of things that don't sound that great. It's going to depend obviously on the source material that you have, but you can use that little gem there, that preset, to simply explore a little bit what the thinking was here behind the morphing that was used. Remember that the morphing is going to be shown by the green arc on the different targets. And there's a few things that you should be looking for. So first of all, you should go to the morph, to the actual morph window, play and see how things are moving, right? And then you can start, you know, changing stuff around. And just change things yourself, see how things affect the sound. See how every little thing's changing. But when you look at this, we also have some modulation, right? And that is very important. And we also have some envelope modulation. We have some LFO. We can see here what we're using for the particular master volume. But we also have these pads here, and each one is going to give you also not only a different sound, but it has some other morphing associated with it. And you can see also how the envelope and the other performance controls change with it. So how can you study this preset to learn a little bit more how to use morphing and what things you can do with it? Just go to your show target and you see LFO. Well, no morphing there. Nothing there. No property. We have some morphing on the formants, on the velocity of the notes for X and Y, and nothing else. But then we go to the perform section. And not only do we have a bunch, you know, big list of modulation controls that we have here, but we have a few other morphs using the XY paths, which I'm gonna get into in a second, which is a little bit related to the actual morph path. And we also have, let's see what else we have. We have those morph. We have a lot of morphing on those pads, a few of them. Then we have, I'm pretty sure we have more. I don't see them right now. Yeah, well, mostly, yeah, I'm surprised. I thought I had seen more than those. But you can see we have different sources or targets where we are doing some morphing for this particular preset, and now things look, or it gives you a better idea of what this preset it's all about. It's a little bit more complicated than what you thought. And yeah, I'm just going through the paths, but there you go. There's some other morphing here on the decay. I think that was already there. Me moving to a different pad didn't make any difference. But anyway, what I want to say here is that just make sure that you explore this morphing example a little bit. Spend some time on it, changing. You can bring different sounds. You can let's see. Let's just turn off some of the sources. How does that affect? Obviously, I get the message, no morphing. That's one thing, and then you can keep going on there, and I'm sure you're going to learn a little bit more about sources. So now, just to start closing the tutorial, one last tip that's very important. It's like I said, you have your morph pad here, right? This is what the morphing should happen when you are defining it, right? When you are planning it and designing it. But keep in mind, in the performance section, we also have these two paths here that actually work the same way as this. So you can actually do crossfadings or morphings by setting the different parameters or targets to the XY perform paths and then control them here. Why is that important? Well, not only will you be able to see them in any of the other views because you have those paths and you can control, and maybe if your workflow demands a little bit more spacing to a more view real estate, depending on at what point you are in creating your music, you can just go to simple, for example, and then work here or have visibility, and then you still have this. And you can control your morphing without having to be here in this view, in the advanced view. But also, you can tie, let's just see how I move, right? And see how these paths move around. And right now, in this morph example, they are tied to the morphing. As you can see, there's some formatting and format in the second pad. On the first pad, I have the morph. But you can tie different morph parameters to the different snapshots, and you can control them here and then go about doing some real-time changes here. So how do you do that? What we can do, let's just go to let's just clear, right? And we're in the advanced view. Let's you could bring something, but I will not bring anything here because I can show the example the same way. Make sure that you're in the morph tab, and then for example, let's do, instead of well, yeah, we want XY because we want to control X or Y. So let's say we're here, let's put this in 0, and there it is. And now let's just do right click or control click in any of the two knobs, and let's just go to perform, and let's say for X we do XY pad 1X, and then you go to a morphing all in X, or I can do the same thing, morph all in Y. And now, as let's say for pad 1, I want to do that. When I move to snapshot number 2, it goes back to 0, and then you do that. So now I am like going like that, and let's say we go to 3 and we do something like that. You see, now I'm controlling crossfading between A and B, but instead of doing it here or with the knobs, I'm doing it directly with the performance XY pads. And it's the same thing for the morphing. I can go here, morph, and then make sure that X and Y are in 0. And then I can just add modulation in the same manner, but let's use path number 2 for this one, just so you can see the difference. And then you go, I have those two. Obviously I'm not affecting anything. Let's say that for 1, I'm going here. Let's say for 2, I leave it there. And let's say for 3, I go all the way over here. Let's say that for 4, I go right to the center. And now each snapshot, it's morphing between both, but it's also crossfading. It's still gonna maintain the crossfading because I clearly defined a modulation routing between these two knobs down back here to these paths. So that's very important to know and to practice and to feel, get a good feeling for it, so that your workflow, it's a little bit more efficient, and that you also start to think about how to incorporate morphing into your workflow and into your sounds. So that's pretty much it. That's pretty much what I had. And then the second video, which closes this Alchemy series, it's gonna be manipulating loops and samples in Alchemy. I'm pretty sure you're gonna like that one. So with that, we're done for now. And as usual, I just want to say thank you to everybody that has been subscribing and supporting as usual. I'll see you in the next video, and then we'll take a little break for a few weeks as I finish the Spanish version of this series, and then we're gonna go back again into some different topics. So I'll see you in the next one. Peace out, people.